most amazing artist. I hope you are having an awesome day today. Welcome to week 2 of our winter bird project. Last week we used lines and color to create a beautiful painted piece of paper using watercolors. We are going to come back to that painting a little bit later in this project, but for now we are going to be creating the birch trees that our birds are going to be sitting on. So when you get to your table, you are going to have a piece of paper that looks like this. It's divided into 1, 2, 3, 4 sections. So we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4 trees all together. You are going to have some black tempera paint. This is washable paint. And a little piece of chipboard, and this is just a little piece of cardboard that I cut out of a cereal box. You're not going to be using a paintbrush today because we're creating something called a scrape painting. So this is our tool that we are going to use instead of a paintbrush today. I also have a messy mat under my work just in case so that I don't get any mess on my table. So that is everything you're going to need to get started on this part of our project today. Let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take one edge of my piece of chipboard here. I cut this one into a rectangle, but maybe you have a square. It doesn't matter which edge you start with. You're just going to want to take one edge of your chipboard here, and I'm going to start dipping it into this black paint. Okay, and I'm gonna go up and down in just little tiny motions to get the paint onto my little piece of cereal box here. I'm just jumping up and down in this paint with my piece of cereal box just on one edge right now. For this scrape painting technique, we don't really need that much paint on our piece of cereal box. If we have too much, then it's just going to be a big old blob of black paint on our trees here. We don't want that. We just want a scrape. So I'm going to start over here on this side. I'm going to flip my piece of cereal box over to where the paint edge, where I've been dipping it in paint, is lined up with this left edge of our paper. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to press it down on my paper, and I'm going to scrape it across until I hit the black line. This creates an awesome effect, just like an actual birch tree in real life. I think I'm gonna get a little bit more paint. Remember, we don't need a lot of paint for this to work. And I'm gonna bring it back over, and I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna line up the painted edge of my cereal box with the edge of my paper over here, and I am going to press it down just on the edge. I'm not gonna press the whole thing down like this. I'm still gonna hold it, and it's kind of like it's at a diagonal line. It's at an angle right now, the way that I'm holding it, and I'm going to press it down and scrape it across until I hit the black line on the other side of the tree, because this is representing just one tree. We will have 1, 2, 3, 4 trees all together. You could take the shorter side of your piece of cereal box and dip it into paint, dabbing it up and down, and you can actually do some texture marks by just pressing it down and pulling up, pressing down, pulling up in the extra white space that you have. I think I want to do another scrape, so again, I'm going to take one side of my cereal box, dip it up and down into my black paint, and then I'm going to bring it over, line up the edge of my cereal box that has the paint on it with the edge of my paper, and I'm going to press it down and scrape all the way across until I hit that black line. A black line represents the other edge of my tree. I don't want to bring it all the way across into my other trees. We're just doing one tree at a time. I think I want some more texture lines, so I'm going to take the shorter edge of my cereal box, dip it in the paint, and then just stamp it onto my paper. Oops! I just made a mistake, and this little mistake does not worry me too much. Even though I want my scrapes to go from side to side, I don't want them to go up and down. This one's going up and down, and I'm okay with that because I know that I'm a human and I will make mistakes every now and again. What's most important if you make a mistake is your attitude towards that mistake. We need to always have a positive attitude, never give up, and keep on going. I'm just going to ignore this mistake for now. It might actually end up looking pretty good on my tree. You never know. But I'm ready for my next one, so I'm going to dip it, and I want to do a scrape this time. And like I said just a second ago, we're not scraping up and down. We're just scraping from one side to the other side, okay? We don't even go back and forth. We just do one scrape across, and then we're done with that one. And we'll move on to the next one. Put it down and just scrape across one time. Don't go back again because then you're going to mess up your shadow on your birch tree. Just scrape across one time, and then we can move on to, I think I have just room for one more. And we have to be careful while we're doing this because this paint up here is still a little bit wet, so we don't want to press our fingers into the wet paint. So when you're holding your paper down, make sure you're holding it in a place that has no paint on it so we don't accidentally get fingerprints all over our painting. And I still have a little bit of white space in this tree, so I'm going to take the other end of my little piece of chipboard or cereal box here, dip it in my paint, and this time I'm going to be careful because last time I tried to do this I made a little mistake, so I'm going to be extra careful this time. I think I was pressing down too hard when I was stamping it onto my tree. So we're just doing straight lines to fill up that white space. And there is one tree done. To start your next tree, we're gonna go to the next section right next to the last tree that you did. So I'm gonna do the same exact thing, but instead of starting on the edge of my paper, I'm gonna start on this black line. So the edge on my piece of cereal box that has the paint is gonna line up with this black line here on my paper, and that's where the edge of my tree is gonna start. And then when I hit the next black line, I'm gonna pull it up. And some of yours might be smaller than others. I think I had more paint on my piece of cereal box for this one, and this one I didn't have that much paint. And it's okay if it's small, it's okay if it's big. Doesn't matter. It actually will be nice if you have some big ones and some smaller ones. And you might get paint on your hands today, and that's totally fine. We know that art can be a little bit messy, but it's okay as long as it's an accident. If we're being messy on purpose, then we will not be able to use this kind of paint anymore. So make sure you're trying your best not to be messy on purpose. However, you still might get some paint on your fingers, and that's perfectly fine. All right, I just finished my scrapes all the way down this tree, and I want to add some horizontal lines just like I did with my first tree, just to fill up any of that extra white space a little bit. And there is my second tree done. I'm gonna do the same exact thing for my third tree and my fourth tree, and then I'll be right back to show you what my trees look like. I just finished all 4 of my birch trees, making sure that I'm scraping from left to right and adding some extra lines in the white space by just pressing down, pulling up, stamping them inside of the white space that's left over after doing your scraping. If you have any paint on your hands that is wet, you can actually rub it in like lotion and that will dry it right up. I hope you guys have a lot of fun with this technique today in creating your birch trees. I can't wait to see how they turn out. I know they're going to be amazing because you guys are amazing. All right, I'll see you guys next time. Bye guys.